Okay, thank you very much for coming. I think that, it's become 3:30, so would you like to start? こんにちは。本日は JICA Ethiopia.
Thank you for joining us today at the JICA Ethiopia Startup Pitch in Japan.
So coming to today, I'm Segunaro. Thank you so much. So if you have a headphone, please use it now. Then you can hear the English sound. So yes, please. Then 本日 MC を担当いたします JICA スタートアップエコシステム専門家
My name is Hara, JICA Startup Ecosystem Specialist, and I will be your MC today. So today we are linking together from our Takebashi office from JICA in Japan and around the world. We're so pleased that people around the world are meeting together and coming over to this event. Thank you very much.
いくつかアナウンスをしたいと思います。ぜひプレゼンテーションの方を開けていただけますでしょうか。
So before the event starts, there are some housekeeping rules.
と思います。
So I would like to explain about the simultaneous interpretation because we have various people coming from and participating from in and out of the Japanese front. We have the translation device and services. Therefore, for those who are listening in English, please go and select the Zoom, the preferred language you would like to hear. And for those of you listening to Japanese, you can just listen to Japanese. So please select your preferred language.
Of interpretation as a Zoom, if you prefer to hear the English. はい、JICA は2020年1月にプロジェクト
JICA launched Project Ninja in January 2020 to support startups around the world, including in Africa and Middle East. And Ninja stands for Next Innovation with Japan and focuses on supporting startups that solve social problems and developing the startup ecosystem, especially by creating linkages with Japan. The event will feature pitches by 6 startups from the Ninja Acceleration Program, part of the Project Ninja sponsored by JICA and the Ethiopian Ministry of Innovation and Technology, which is developing a startup policy in Ethiopia. Our goal is to inform people in Japan and around the world about the attractiveness of Ethiopia's startups and ecosystem, and to let Ethiopians know about Japan's commitment to Africa. We are pleased to welcome the Minister and Deputy Minister of the Ethiopian Ministry of Innovation and Technology and 9 staff members to the venue, as well as the Ethiopian Ambassador. The Ninja Acceleration Program is part of Project Ninja, a collaborative effort between JICA and the Ethiopian Ministry of Innovation and Technology to support outstanding startups that solve social problems and contribute significantly to economic growth and employment in Ethiopia. The program is being implemented in collaboration with JICA and the Ethiopian Ministry of Innovation Technology. In December 2022, a call for participating companies was issued and 30 companies were selected in the first round. And in 2023 January, 30 companies participated in a 1-week training program, and Renew Capital, an American investment firm headquartered in Ethiopia, provided startup lectures were given on topics ranging from secrets of success to finance and pitching skills. So investors provided advice on each company's pitch, and entrepreneurs actively asked questions. In February and March, each company demonstrated the pitch skills sharpened in the above skill training. And final 6 companies were selected with approximately 100 people watching online and at the venue. So the companies selected went through a 4-month acceleration program for business development and mentoring, as well as proof of concept with a maximum grant of approximately 9,000 million yen. They are currently participating in a knowledge, co-creation, and training program in Japan to meet Japanese mentors and investors. So I am pleased to introduce them to you today. So here is the agenda for today's event. At first, in order to develop deeper into the startup-related issues in Africa and Japan from both macro and micro perspectives, we have three speakers, which are Mr. Selaimun from the Ethiopian Ministry of Innovation Technology, Mr. Hiroyuki Sato from Ridgelinez Corporation, and Mr. Ken Shibusawa, Chairman of the Global South Africa Committee and Keizai Doyukai. After that, the 6 startups will be making their presentations, and we will be asking the public to vote online, and of course the audiences at the venue will also vote. The ranking of today's pitches will be determined by votes of all participants, both on-site and at the venue, and as well as the 2 judges' evaluations. After all these startup pitches are over, this is how online attendees can vote, and through the QR code or URL above showed at each table, you will be able to connect to the voting. Please be prepared for that. For online and people at the venue, you will be able to ask questions to the startups after the vote. So please utilize the Q&A icon of the Zoom to write in your questions for the startups. And when you would like to confirm the information about the 6 startups online, please access this code. You can see brief information in Japanese and English for both 6 companies, and the information is pasted on the wall for the paper, and it is also provided within the Zoom chat URL too. So before moving on to the event, I would like to once again explain about the simultaneous interpretation services that we are launching today. So this event is done simultaneously with the interpretation services in both Japanese and English. If you would like to prefer listening to English, please select English. Now we would like to begin. First of all, we would like to receive an opening remarks from His Excellency Beleta Mora Getabun, Minister, please.
Good afternoon, Excellency Ambassador Dabadabali, Ethiopian Ambassador to Japan, Excellency State Minister Dr. Baisa, Excellency Mr. Onodera, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, startups. First of all, I would like to thank Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, for creating this opportunity that has brought us all here together to attend this session, and also hosting all the startup teams and government delegates. I also would like to congratulate the Ethiopian startups to make this far, competing among many startups. My thanks also go to International Cooperation Agency, JICA, and leaders and teams of JICA's office in Ethiopia. The Ministry of Innovation and Technology expresses its candid appreciation to JICA's relationship with Ethiopia based on mutual trust. With this cooperation, JICA has been involved in our country's developmental agenda, particularly the JICA's involvement on entrepreneurship and startup activities that have been around through Ninja Next Innovation with Japan initiative since 2020. My thanks also go to Excellency Tanaka Akihiko, President of Japan International Cooperation Agency, and leaders and teams of JICA's office in Ethiopia once again. Indeed, the success of the session has clearly indicated that we are building a strong cooperation and partnership for startup ecosystem, building that brings fast social and economic impact in Ethiopia. Since 2020, programs such as India Business Plan Competition in Africa, business contests in 15 cities, matching opportunities, foreign delegation program, JITEX Dubai and Morocco, startup ecosystem survey studies and online pitch events to promote our startup ecosystem. And finally, the acceleration program that we are all attending here today have taken place. Meanwhile, to give you further insight on the results of your support and other ecosystem actors' strategic initiative, I would like to mention one success story. According to a global source, Ethiopia startup ecosystem in general has shown improvements, and in particular, significant improvement, that we have now improved 72 ranks. So this has been registered at the country level, and Addis Ababa startup ecosystem has become among the top 400 global startup cities in 2023. The goal of this program, launched with JICA and operationalized with local and regional accelerator, is just to play a role to sustain such progress and to further improve our startup and startup ecosystem through creating strategic business alliance necessary for their prospective growth and scale up. In this program, out of 100 contestants, 30 were selected, and in the second round, among the 30s, only 15, after intensive pitch trainings, made the cut. In the third round, only 6 of these startups were selected and passed through knowledge co-creation program. Finally, as we are going to attend, these contestants will make their final pitch, and I would like to congratulate them all for the milestone, which is a very critical step for their next development. Congratulations. In conclusion, I would like to ensure our commitment to JICA's interest to pursue the goal of Project Ninja and other related projects to support startup and promote Ethiopia's startup ecosystem for socio-economic development through connecting startups and ecosystem players. I would like also to express my appreciation to the support to JICA. JICA has provided for the startups to come here, as well as for the support availed for myself and my staff members from the Ministry of Innovation and Technology, Ethiopian startups and the government staffs as well, to enhance the impact of these supporters. I would appreciate our further collaboration to focus on the promotion of venture investment, impact investment, 2, on the dissemination of information on local startup ecosystem, 3, on promotion of corporate collaboration by holding events in Japan and overseas, and finally through participating in activities that promote awareness and collaboration to foster startup ecosystem of Ethiopia in Japan, across Africa, and within the Ethiopia's regions and cities. With a spirit of continuous success, cooperation and furtherance of our mutual engagements, I express that the Ministry of Innovation and Technology would stay committed to the goals of JICA that aims to bring socioeconomic impacts. I would also like to finally express my appreciation to all parties involved from the Ministry and from JICA, actors of Japan startup ecosystem, and to the Ethiopian startups that made this event possible. To the startups, your journey to be a successful company representing your country in the global arena through creating social and economic impact to success has just begun. We will be there on your entire journey, supporting you, good luck on this one. To strengthen JICA's and the Ministry's collaboration on building a strong startup ecosystem, it has paramount importance to cement our cooperation on a formalized and mutually agreed cooperation framework in line with the newly established and Digital Economy and ICT Joint Working Group to the continuity and sustainability of our relationship. Thank you for your attention. Arigato.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for a very powerful message. Now, we'd like to move on to the lecture part. The first lecture will be provided by Mr. Selamifun Adefilis, Innovation Development Lead CEO of the Ministry of Innovation and Technology. He will give a lecture on startups in Ethiopia. Mr. Selamifun, please.
So I'm expected to stand here. So oh yeah, okay. Okay, I am Salamihun from Ministry of Innovation and Technology, Innovation Development Lead CEO. So I will be presenting about our startup ecosystem. Okay, Ethiopian startup ecosystem. So I'll briefly go with that. So as you can see, this is Addis Ababa as we see it today. You can see lots of improvements. It's going to be one of the vibrant city in the future, I think. So hopefully you have some grasp of Addis Ababa this way. Startup and startup ecosystem building. Ethiopia's vision. What is its vision? The vision of Ethiopia's in promoting startup ecosystem is actually to reach to the fourth stage of its life cycle. So there are mainly four cycles that the startup ecosystem need to pass through. So of those four steps, our vision is actually becoming a global fabric of knowledge, produce a global business model, and achieve high global market reach in the long run. But while aiming to this bigger vision, our ministry actually places its priority on the first cycle in the 3 years program, which is actually the activation life cycle, which will actually end up with multiple $100 million valuations startup companies. So this is actually a vision that seems to be unrealistic, but startup ecosystem should be in the first place unrealistic in its expectation. Otherwise, it's not a startup. So we have to act like also a startup as a ministry to actually reach to this goal. So we aim big in 3 years. Definitely we're going to make it. So in this, there are many challenges, in fact, in this activation stage. Hope we're going to pass through that challenge. In fact, when we say this is not an unrealistic goal, by the way. The Kenyans have done it. The Nigerians have done it. Many of other counterparts already have done it. So we have already an experience that are close to our reality. So it's a possible scenario given all the priorities are achieved. So when we talk about startup ecosystem, the term itself actually talks about connectedness of values. So in this, the local ecosystem is expected to ensure connectedness among ecosystem actors, such as ecosystem builders. So these ecosystem builders are accelerators, incubation centers, and other institutions. In fact, it includes investors also, venture capitals, angels. All these are necessary to this. Academics, international partners, government and private organizations, startup founders, and startup talent. having both innovation and entrepreneurial capacities. So when we talk about startups, we talk about innovation-driven entrepreneurship ecosystem, not a normal entrepreneurial ecosystem that we're talking about when you talk about startup ecosystem. So an overview of the Ethiopian startup ecosystem case, Addis Ababa. This is a survey that was conducted with JICA. So this shows, in fact, why Ethiopia in the first place. Why is a good destination for investors and other ecosystem players or other countries' investors to come and invest. One is huge population and market size. In this, in fact, one of the peculiar points is urbanization rate is also growing compared to the developed nations as well as those around our regions. So urbanization rate is necessary and use size is also necessary. And we are the second most populous country in the African continent, which is actually second to Nigeria. So when we say this, it's not a mere reality, it's really an existing reality, which are potential to the population-related facts. The other is government focus. Government has actually started many initiatives to promote this ecosystem. One is a Startup Act legal framework, and the other is a national STI policy, which was ratified, I think, 6 months ago, I think, in 2022. So this is also clearly stated why we need a startup ecosystem, why we need to promote innovation ecosystem as well. So what we should do with that, it's clearly stated there. Under this also, government has already started to re-operationalize, in fact, its National STA Council, which has an overarching governing bodies to actually lead the entire ecosystem in a coordinated manner. The third one is improving business environment. In this, you can see there is opening of telecom industry. M-Pesa and Safaricom are coming in, and other local telebur like telecom sector also has starts the digitalization ecosystem. Government e-service is already aggressively being addressed. So there are many actually bank-related activities going on in terms of business environment. The other is increased internet users. So we have this much internet users. You can see 31 million plus internet users. Projected smartphone owners would be 48%, 43% smartphone owners now, 19.4% increase in 6 months. So you can see how far it exponentially grows. So this is also one of the most important indicator. The other is growing support ecosystem. According to our research, Addis Ababa and the surrounding area are home to about 80 distinct participants in the support ecosystem. So there are accelerators growing. Even the international accelerators are interested to come in and work with our ecosystem. The locals are being standardized currently. So we're working with different partners in this regard. The other is changing customer perceptions is also another issue. So in this regard, actually, the digital literacy and high-tech usage capabilities also being enhanced. For instance, Hologram is Ethiopian startup application, by the way. It has 800,000 users, like the same as Telegram, but this has a marketplace of its own. It was presented in the JITEX Dubai, one of the startups supported by us. We have Teleburs. It has 27.1 million users and billions transaction in terms of birr. There are hard infrastructure. We have ICT Park currently as serving as a sandbox to actually test our regulatory frameworks. So increasing access to capital also is coming on now. Talent, you can see we have 80% STEM graduates currently. So all universities, we have around 53 universities across the country. of those 80% of the graduating students are STEM students. So this shows actually the conducive environment that we have actually to be the next startup hub of our region. So startups in Addis Ababa, you can see this is the highlights of our startups in agri-tech, in education, and others. So startup by their growth stage, if we see, we have early stage startup of 77% now, post-early stage around 23%, and some of them are making their local businesses successful. So there are even startups that are not yet exposing themselves. So definitely when everything is ready, there are potential startups coming in. Even there are startups coming from the US, still working with us and still not actually revealing themselves. So as we go along, as the opportunity pops up, definitely much will come out of that ecosystem. Startup by sector, we can see transportation and logistics, job tech, health tech, e-commerce, education tech, agri-tech. We can see early stage startups are, it's mushrooming anyhow. So you can see most early stage startups are being motivated and coming out. And they are, of course, the seed for growth and mid-stage startups. So this is also the case. Our regulatory landscape is like this. We have a national STI councils, an overarching governing body, which actually encompasses all these sectors together. Our Ministry of Innovation and Technology, is the secretariat of that council, and it's led by the PM, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. So this is our National Innovation Fund management structure, which is actually expected to provide funds, seed funds, and promote investment ecosystem for startups as well. So we have funds of funds and grants and everything coming in place. So definitely this will kick off soon. Thank you. If you need more information on our startup regulation, you can check. We have this information, the fund management, the registration and obligations, ecosystem builders and innovators related. Thank you.
Shiramuさん、貴重な講演ありがとうございました。アムセグナロ、Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for a very insightful lecture. We are able to learn a lot about Ethiopian situation from official from the country. Now, we'd like to move on to the second lecture. It is about African business from Japan. We'd like to hear from a Japanese company regarding the situation. Blockchain, from Mr. Hiroyuki Sato from Ridgelinez. We'd like to hear from him about the blockchain usage.
はじめまして。リッジラインズの佐藤と申します。ちょっとこの後に私の自己紹介もあるんですけども、私たちリッジラインズは富士通。
So hello, this is Sato from Ridgeline, and to introduce ourselves, we are part of the Fujitsu activity, and this is a DX consultancy firm to make the society much more sustainable. Until this spring, I was working within this work as a partner and to create a new innovation. And I was researching in blockchain, and I myself, starting from 2010, I have been in Europe. And at that point, I've been working on the payment carrier, mobile carrier, and financial inclusion for universal way was my aim. So I was active in London. And at that point, I've been seeing various private equity people who has been investing in Africa. So the Docomo Digital that I've been working with, the M-Pesa and the Google Play was to be connected, and using the account of M-Pesa to use the application of Google Play. So that was able to purchase, and I have been working on that as the CEO of the company, and this time from JICA. I feel very happy to be able to see the His Excellencies from the Ethiopian nations and all the startups from Ethiopia. So I think I have a great opportunity today. And these are proof of concepts that we've been working on. So as you know about the Web3, you've been probably hearing about the word Web3, and Minister just mentioned about investment for impacts. So the technology of blockchain used to create Web3, that is truly is a global platformer of Web 2.0 that is opening before ourselves, and Web 2.0 is now very prominent within the platform. But when we are transitioned over to the Web 3.0, the data will be held and possessed by ourselves and will be shared by others. And by having that environment created, I think this is, well, according to myself, I use the word contribution to earn, but whatever it could be for corporate, or any other organizations, I think we, while living, are contributing to something in some other way. And that will be put into value, and that could be now exchanged. And that is probably going to be creating sustainability in the world. And for the challenges that were not solved this time, the Davos has been mentioning that the World Economic Forum at Davos has been mentioning that there were many problems that are not really clear-cut to be solved. But with the Web 3.0 technology, I am thinking that I could make a changement to the world. So I will be listening to the pitches, and we are working on Series 3, and right now I am a CEO of the Series 3.0 as a company. Therefore, I would like to be listening to your pitch from that perspective. And let me talk about the overview of the project done in Ghana. That was from 2020 to 2021. And what I wanted to do was to improve the nutrition of the local people, especially within the emerging market, was needed. So creating and using a system like a blockchain, we wanted to disseminate the information about nutrition to the people and to put it into actions or change the behavior of the recipient of the information. And by using the token of the blockchain, we wanted to put together or connect all these activities. That is about the token economy that I write on the chart. So changing people's behavior, it should be linked to an incentive by using the blockchain system. And we are making the confirmation. In 2020, there were 20 participants. And in 2021, 60 participants have been participating for the testings. And I would like to share with you what we actually done. The system itself was very simple. And within the daily lives, what were people consuming? So that's going to be selected by meals. And then within the selected meals, this is called foster diet system, which is categorized in 4. So there's 4 categories looking at the meals of the African people. And we just want to understand if these categories and the nutrients are well balanced within their meals. And that's going to be accumulated as in the form of stamps. And by that, by having people go through some questionnaires, small questions, accumulate information and knowledge about nutrients. And after that, people will get incentives. So all these, that is indicated as a coin, could be changed actually into a coin. So you can earn some coins to use at another opportunity. And we embedded interesting features. So the first one is, well, taking pictures. And then the data itself, based on the image of the picture, will be able to classify the nutrients to some extent and make it into an icon so people will be understanding more better, meaning that what you consume will be related to which nutrition, and it's visually understandable, and it's a system that is standing upon the system of the AI. The next feature is gamification. So within this industry, gamification is very important. So by playing the games and by winning, people will be enjoying and to earn something. So you will be able to earn some rewards, and then you will take pictures of the meals and upload it on the system. And the other one is actually ask people to record their heights and weights, and then have that shared with the clinics. And later on, this is going to be an incentive or incentivized, so people will be able to exchange it to a reward. Another noteworthy feature is that we used the songs or used lullabies. We asked people, the users, to record the song of the lullabies. So when you press a button, you'll be able to listen to people's lullabies, the song sung. So likewise as this, participants will be able to record their lullaby singing. And the reason why we want to do this is that when we Japanese are intervening, usually English is employed. However, we wanted some local languages. A language that is very near to Ghanaian languages is what we wanted to embed. And within all the 4 features, this one was well perceived. And this is the actual reference. So by having people embed data such as weight and height, just only those information, people will be understanding, and we resolve the problem of the phenomenon called stunning, where children dies from malnutrition. And lastly, I would like to share with you why blockchain used. The feature of the blockchain is it's dispersed, as you can see, decentralized. So the data was not that much shared from the user. However, likewise with the ecosystem of the startups, by using new technologies, all the organizations who are not able to connect and all the entities who are not exchanging information are now connected. Therefore, their activities or their behavior will change. That is why we use blockchain system. So sharing information itself is very important within this blockchain system. And using token. Virtualization is very focused these days, but rather than the block we focused on the token, and we put various information on the token, which could be the incentive or health information, or as we have been going through all the data, whether people understood the nutrition or their doings or not, were confirmed by the POCs. And that could lead to decreasing the people's usage of social securities and creating the social securities. This could be contributing to the national health of the country, and also will connect to the healthiness of the children within the region. So thinking about social wellness, usually the government will be making the contribution. However, by having the local people contribute by connecting and providing information, we could sustain the society itself. And then there could be some product contribution from the companies, private companies, and all these will be allowing mothers to be able to have their children grow up in a healthy way. So with Ghanaian people, through this project, I think we have a deep understanding, better relationship with the mothers and the users of the country. So in that way, we are always daily making the stride. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sato-san. And it was very informative to know the digital situation from the perspective of Ridgelinez, and a lot of other Japanese companies are active in Africa also. Lastly, I would like to ask another speaker from the macro perspective, what kind of approaches are now taking place in Africa? I'd like to ask Mr. Ken Shibusawa, Chairman of the Global South Africa Committee of Keizai Doyukai, Representative Director of Shibusawa & Company, Chairman of the Board of Commons Investment Trust, and CEO of N Capital. He'll speak on investment in Africa from Japan. Mr. Ken Shibusawa will be joining from online. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ken Shibusawa. I apologize for not being able to be there in person, but I was able to. So, Ant Capital, that was mentioned earlier for introduction, I just became, because I am the CEO of this company and I had some appointment I couldn't go. I am chairman of the Global South Africa Committee of Keizai Doyukai. Keizai Doyukai, or Japan Association of Corporate Executives, is for people from Ethiopia. You might not be familiar with this organization, but in English, it is Japan Association of Corporate Executives. And 1,500 people, management people, are the members of this organization, and more than 900 companies are in this institution. Both big and small companies and startups are also members of this organization. And I have been with this African committee for more than 10 years now. And I think 2.5 years ago, at the time, Africa Project Team, Africa PT, the project was called Africa's PT, and we issued advisory. And TICAT, you might know this international, I'm sure you know this African conference, TICAT 5, took place in 2013 in Yokohama. And at the time, African heads of Africa sent messages to Japan. The message was, thank you very much for your long-term support, and I would like your country to make investment to our region. That was the message. And TICAT was then there was a discussion of TICAT to take place in Kenya, and former Prime Minister Abe we went to the region with a lot of companies, and we were very active. But 2 years ago, this African project team, as a result of the analysis we did over the past 10 years, direct investment from Japan to Africa actually declined rather than increased. That was the reality, and that was not really good. So we made a proposal that was to Africa. It is very important to create a new flow of money to Africa. So we proposed the cooperation between the private and public sector impact investment to Africa should be established. That was our proposal. And last year, the TICAT 8 took place last year in Tunisia. And there, the chairman at the time, JT, Mr. Iwai from Japan Tobacco, and myself and other members went to Tunisia, and we talked about our idea. And we talked with a lot of people there. And what was the most positive feedback was from African Development Bank. The governor Abesina said it was a great idea. So if you are really interested, and if you come to Cote d'Ivoire in November, then there would be African Investment Forum. So we would like to have a Japan forum, Japan session specifically. So I went there in November. And there was a Japan session at the time, and we talked about impact investment. We talked about creating impact fund for Africa. So there was a very positive feedback. And because of this support, over the past 6 months since last fall, Keizai Doyukai started discussion to have the impact investment to Africa, not Keizai Doyukai specifically, but we talked about creating this fund with the support of members of Keizai Doyukai. And because there was a commitment from African Investment Bank, rather, it's more like an informal commitment, and we talked about creating this fund. So following that, January this year, Ant Capital was established, and means and Japan and Africa, and also impact, environment, social, and impact should be considered at the same time thinking about profits. That was what is implied by this title of this company, and establishing this company, we decided to establish this company, and it's the first time in 40 years that movement took place. 80 years ago, there was a discussion about investment to Asia, and it was 40 years ago, sorry. So it was the first time in 40 years that this kind of a big international investment movement took place. And African Council, this Africa Committee was not really a major forum within Keizai Doyukai. However, we had a major discussion regarding creating this fund for Africa. So shareholders of the company, Keizai Doyukai's project team, Japan Tobacco or Seiko, Epson, there are a lot of Japanese companies included in this Keizai Doyukai, and then Sompo Japan Insurance Company. That was one of the major representative company in this organization, and they all supported. And from summer to fall we started fundraising. And so right now around 50 companies are included, and some of them are saying that Africa is a very, very far away from Japan, or others are saying it is very exciting that we are doing this for Africa. But we were so we were able to also feel the commitment from the top of this company to be committed to Africa, and to the first close and the first kickoff started, and final phase is scheduled for the end of this year. Our mission is our idea is to have the people-centric fund, and so the theme for funds are healthcare, nutrition, agriculture, and of course renewable energy or logistics also is important. So all of this should be included. For that, finances necessary financing scheme should be invented, and technology should enable these activities. Our stage for investment includes early round, seed, angel investors. A round, rather than A round, post A round is our focus. That is because our investors, LP sponsors, because they are Japanese companies, it is easier for us to create connections. So in that sense, our strategies have another characteristic, that is funds, investment, funds and direct investment. We'd like to do both at the same time. Funds, pipeline, creating pipeline from funds, and direct investment should also take place. So I'd like to repeat this from fall to winter, we will have more specific activities. I think what is important is from the perspective of African continent and capital, the company might be just a company, but our origin, our meaning of us is that this was created in Japan, in the economic environment in Japan, but these companies from Japan are interested in Africa, and we are making investment, and we are making impact investment. I think this is what is very important about this. And lastly, I'd like to say this. It was 15 years ago that I got interested in Africa. The first time I went to Africa was not that long time ago. It was actually around just before COVID in 2019. The first country was Ethiopia. The first country I went to Africa was Ethiopia. There were a lot of things I noticed at the time. And for me, the biggest takeaway was that until then, I thought Africa was seeing a rapid growth of population, population was doubling and the market will become hugely important. I knew that already, but in Ethiopia, I participated in healthcare pitch event, and for the first time I realized that there are so many people in Ethiopia and so many people in the continent, and then there must be something. There must be human resources that should be really, really important and play an important active role in the world stage. And so compared to the Japanese population, it is really significant. And for the past 30 years, the population doubled. So human resources improvement is the most important point, I thought. I was keenly made aware when I went to Ethiopia. So people-centric, that's why I said people-centric is the important point for this and capital. When you think about this, about 100 years ago, Japan was the developing country, and Japan lacks natural resources as opposed to Africa. Of course, we have water, but not other natural resources. But we have a lot of people. And by improving human resources, in Japan, even though Japan was a developing country at the time, 100 years ago, or for several decades, we are able to be a part of the developed country. Just 50 years ago, 70 years ago, right after the war, we were devastated. And then after focusing on improving the human resources, we are able to become the major economy. So we have this legacy that is our country. So if you look at this compared to other Western countries, I think this is something, the legacy what we have is very unique, and that might be something that Africa can really look at as one experience that you can also find interesting and meaningful to learn. So we are starting this activity at and capital, and I really look forward to exchanging opinions with you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shibusawa-san. Impact Fund and Capital, and then Keizai Doyukai and Japan's African investment from Japan. It was a very, very informative lecture. So we are able to hear the situation in Africa and the investment from Japan to Africa, both macro and micro perspectives. We were able to learn a lot. A lot of Japanese companies and venture capitals are investing in Africa. So I highly recommend that you further look into this topic. Now we'd like to start the pitch events. So those of you who are joining both online and in person, and 2 judges will decide the winners of the rankings. The startup presenters have taken a long time to prepare for this pitch. Now I would like to explain the rules of the pitch. First of all, regarding the overview of Africa, we will explain challenges in Africa, in Ethiopia, that each startup is trying to solve, and the solution will be explained, and then the pitch will happen, and then the Q&A will happen. And after all the pitches are over, the participants online and in person will give vote and to select only one company that you'd like to invest in. People who are joining online, please vote via Zoom's voting feature. And those of you who are attending at the venue, please use the QR code that you can see on the desk. Lastly, judges, audience, in person and online will decide the top 2 winners. After the voting, we are also having the Q&A session, questions to startups. So please write your questions on the chat on Zoom. You can write your questions while listening to the pitches as well. And if you'd like to check the information of startups, you can scan the QR code or you can click on the URL on the Zoom chat. Now, we'd like to introduce you to 2 judges who will be the judges for this event. First person is Mr. Satoshi Imura from Deloitte Thomas Venture Support. And thank you very much. My name is Satoshi Imura from Deloitte Thomas. Let me introduce your company. We have 3 customers. One is a major company. One is a major support for the major companies, and the second is the support for startup companies, and the third is the creation of the startup ecosystem with a public sector. And I myself is in charge of 2 things. To create new businesses in Africa by big companies, and through the acceleration program to nurture the African startups. These 2 are what I'm engaged in. So I very much look forward to listening to the pitches.
Thank you very much, Mr. Imura. And the second judge is Mr. Hiroyuki Sato from Ridgelinez, and we have already had a presentation from him, but can you introduce yourself again? Thank you very much. So I'm appearing again, and once again, I would like to introduce myself. So right now, I am having the Ridgelinez consultancy company. This is the strategic company of the Fujitsu, and I work as a senior advisor there. And I've been working as a CEO of the Block Feature, and Series B round is what I do. So I really feel sympathy with the startups today. And based on the experience of mine, I would like to make the judgment. And actually, the Deloitte Touche morning pitch, I have been a participant of the pitching too myself. Therefore, I feel very affinity with the startup people. So thank you very much. I look forward to your pitch. Thank you very much, Mr. Sato. And without ado, are you ready? So now, finally, let us move on to the pitch. The first company is Fivermart Trading Company, Doyukai-san. And its line, Ms. Wani will be making the introduction of the company. Hello, this is Ridgelinez. My name is Wani. And the first startup is Fivermart Trading Company. And Fivermart is selling kiosk buildings with solar panels for retail and guard stations. Rural areas, which make up the majority of Ethiopia, lack connections due to lack of access to finance, electricity, and other energy sources. So because of that, people are prevented doing businesses, and there are increased unemployment in the rural areas. To solve this situation, Fivermart Trading Company will provide financial access and connectivity to frontier rural markets by manufacturing and selling kiosk buildings with solar panels. The kiosks are equipped with refrigerators, charging hubs, and Wi-Fi, allowing retailers and security stations to conduct businesses immediately and providing opportunities for local residents to access businesses such as cell phones, internet, or barbershops. So, without ado, Mr. Dick Ali Tunial of Fivermart Trading Company, please start with your pitch.
Konnichiwa. I'm Dick Ali. I'm the CEO and the founder at the FiberMart. We are empowering a sustainable community. How many of you know that in Ethiopia have a close to population of Japan, that is 120 million people. Out of that, 92 million, they live in a rural area. That 92 million people, they lack access of more things, like access of electricity, access of clean water, access of medical care centers. For that reason, we come up our fiberglass kiosk, which is made up of durable, portable, fire-resistant, and eco-friendly fiberglass. Our kiosk can be installed everywhere easily. So far, we transformed the community from inconvenient and informal plastic sheet kiosks that they were using their retail shops and their barber shops. By using accessories, we transformed it into a digitized energy kiosk that's powered by solar panels and full package of all equipment that needs renewable energy. That means our kiosk have a solar panel, battery for storing the energy, and also it have a charging hub that's makes it convenient the rural area people to charge their devices, laptops, and so on. That brings to make us, the customer and the rural area people, a convenient business model which cost us one kiosk manufacturing and deploying 1,200 USD, whereas the customer will pay 500 USD down payment and the recurring 15% of revenue sharing per month. We so far deployed 45 kiosks in different areas in the country, like Somali region, Gambella, and other places. By supporting or helping our developmental partners. In a nutshell, our company transforming community sustainably, one kiosk in a time. Thank you very much. Arigato.
デカーリさん、ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Doyukai. So now we are entering into Q&A session. And what about your judgment, the judges? Please let us listen to the judge. 日本語でお話。
そうですね。1200ドル。
So you have priced $1,200 US. But then my impression is that this is very much a costly amount for the rural areas. So what about the pricing? For the rural areas, do you think it not too expensive or too expensive? And if it should be expensive, how are you going to be thinking in a way to have this be spread around the rural area and to be... So it seems the headphone seems not to be working for the simultaneous interpretation. Some people might have to be changing their devices in order for you to listen. This is the English channel, English channel, English channel. Check, 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 check. Checking the sound on the English channel. So let us go once more. So you were talking about the pricing of the kiosk, $1,200. Can you hear? So again, the pricing was $1,200 for the kiosk. And my impression is that it is too costly for the rural areas to be able to pay. So how is the pricing? And if you consider it rather expensive for the rural people, in order to take the kiosk into route within the area, what kind of a creativity are you thinking about?
2,000, the 1,200 USD is not the cost of the customer that paying the kiosk, but it is the cost that we are making that we are manufacturing the kiosk. We manufacture this kiosk 1,200 USD. That's the cost that we pay to make this kiosk for manufacturing, because we are manufacturing this kiosk. And the customer will pay, when they need this kiosk, they will pay 500 USD as a down payment. And the rest will be pay as you go. 15% what they earn in the month, the revenue sharing. That clear?
Thank you for the clarification. So that means there's no financial burden so much for the customer. Is that true?
Again?
We're talking about the financial burden of the users. It's not much of a burden financially. Is that what you mean?
I mean, the customer, it will be easier to buy 500 as a down payment. Instead, they buy full payment in a one time. So for that reason, we bring our solution to that rural area people to pay a small amount at the first, and the rest requirement, they will pay 15% what they are making profit from the month. So if they, for example, if they make in a month 1,000 birr in Ethiopia, they will pay 15% of that. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Question?
じゃあ私の方から。
So my question. So the kiosk itself, have you gotten intellectual property or the patent in order to develop this kiosk? Or else, is it the case that everybody can be copying your idea? Is that in order to make the assembly?
When we are already processed, and they give us 14 days, the government intellectual property office, we are waiting to get the last certificate after 14 days, yeah, when we are coming out in the country. Yeah. So almost after 1 week, we can get it. Yeah.
So is it a technological patent? What kind of a patent is it, please? What kind of a patent is this? So there are several kinds to a patent, and I am interested what kind it is. So are there any technology discovered, and based on that, you have a technological patent applied? Is that what you're saying?
We have the pay-as-you-go that we can control by software that we are developing in a way. So that way we can collect our money 15% from the month. So that way we can use the technology. Yeah.
Okay, understood. So it's more near the patent for business model. And now I would like to ask you about the business itself. You said that revenue share of 15%. And how much revenue or share already have you got? And how much is the number of users using the actual kiosk? How many people are actually using this kiosk? So how much of the revenue that you get and how much users are using the kiosk?
Still using this kiosk is around 30 person. There is another 30 kiosks that we already manufactured, and it's waiting only to fix the positions and deploy the place. 30 people, when I say that means 15 kiosks. Every kiosk, it operates 2 person. That we take that the way because of a rate of unemployment. To address that rate, we normally taken every kiosk to use 2 people or 3 people to get more young people a job opportunity. So far we have addressed 30 person in different places, like refugee camps. Mostly we tested in refugee camps because there is a campus that there is no shops or something like that. The refugee, they are in camp, and when they need some goodies or foodies, they go outside to the host community in the city, and they take their goodies back to the camp. So it takes a lot of time, and it's risky by walking. So for that reason, we started for the refugee camps by supporting some NGOs. So at that time, we tested, they loved our product, and on the way, they are already listed 54 another kiosk to extend the agreement. That's what we are now.
Thank you very much on that. We would like to close this one. Thank you very much.
はい。では次に、2社目は、ゲベタソフト。
Now, the second company is Gebeta Software PLC. Now, I'd like to ask for the overview by Wani-san. The second startup is Gebeta Software PLC. This company provides map information services to local logistics, vehicle dispatch services, e-commerce, and many other companies that need maps. The most serious challenge for Ethiopian companies is the lack of access to API map information provided by foreign companies like Google due to the lack of access to foreign currencies. Another major challenge is the lack of map information suited for the local environment, not only for Ethiopia, but also for the rest of African companies. So, Gebeta Maps offers a localized corporate mapping service for the African market. In particular, Gebeta Maps provides a system that allows Ethiopians to pay in local currency using non-credit card methods, such as through Ethiopian banks, in order to make it easier for locals to use the service. They are also looking for more effective ways to help people in Africa, because there, the address display system does not work as well as in developed countries. Mr. Bemfles Keizai of Gebeta Software, please give us your pitch.
Okay, konnichiwa. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be in front of you and present today. My name is Ben Meheret. I am from Gebeta Maps. So let me start by telling you our story. So when we were in college, we had a startup that works in logistics sector, which is most of you, as you know, like food delivery and things like that. So we were working on that, and that forced us to use a mapping service. And while we were doing that, we were unable to get access to credit cards and to pay for Google Maps and things like that. So that actually forced us to build the solution for ourselves and use it in our system. So while we were doing that, we noticed that some of our colleagues were also facing the same issues. So we decided, why not just provide this for them as well? We didn't think of it as a business, but that's what we did. And so that's how it got started. So So the challenges that we are trying to solve are the access to online payment methods. So in Ethiopia, as most of you know, we have access to different Visa or MasterCard cards, but they only work locally, not internationally. So that's a huge barrier. And also the foreign currency is really needed. And so for those reasons, it's really hard to do an international payment. So that's one issue, especially for logistics companies, since they are growing. The other one is the the lack of reliable data. Right here, we have been trying Google Maps. It really works well, even in the subways, and we've been moving around with it, alone throughout the city. It's really awesome. But when you come to Addis and Ethiopia, that's not the case. Most of the addresses do not actually work. Once I remember I went to a different place, it was really far away from where I wanted to go. So that's a real problem in Ethiopia with Google Maps and the rest of them. And also there is a lack of data. For instance, in Addis Ababa alone, there are around 100,000 streets. And of those 100,000 streets, there are only 40,000 of them named, which means 60,000. So 60,000 streets do not have names. So it's really inconvenient to deliver something to somewhere. For instance, if you take the post office, if you do not pick your phone, then whatever you ordered will not be delivered to you. So these are a huge challenges. So what are we doing about it? The first thing is we have now created a mapping API services, which includes around 5 and 6 type of APIs that we are providing for logistics companies that have integrated and are using it. The other one is working on the addressing system, which we are trying to solve by working with different government and private companies. So what's our market? Our market is any company that uses location-based services. It could be a logistics company, could be even the most recent interesting thing that we got from our client was we developed some kind of text-based tracking system, which they are planning to use for their fintech as security measures. So it even goes to fintechs and things like that. So more interesting things are coming out as we go. But yeah, for now, we are providing it for any company that uses location-based services. So this is our traction. So far, it's been growing, and it looks interesting. So this is our business model. We have 4 models. As your usage increases, the amount you pay also decreases. So yeah, this is the amount we're asking for. This is our team, and this is what we look like. And this is the management team, but there are others who work under us. So I would like you to join us in revolutionizing the mapping industry in Africa, and thank you.
ベメヘレトさん、ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much, Ben Flestan. Okay, I'd like to now ask judges for the questions. Okay, let me ask a question. So right now, Google Map data is not working in Ethiopia, I heard. So right now, API, what kind of, how are you creating the reliable data? How are you trying to collect reliable API data?
So that's one part of the thing that we're doing. We have different routing and things like that as well. So as for the data, we're trying to collect it by ourselves, first of all, like by going to places and doing the manual work. So that way we'll have a better data. But in the coming months, we're planning to release a user app where even location becomes personalized, where you can just say, like, bring something to my house, and the system will understand where your house is, or where your office is, or any other locations that you might be interested in. And the other part is if you know what 3 words. So we're trying something similar, but with the context of Africa and Ethiopia in particular. So For instance, if someone wants to go somewhere, he can just say like the country, the district, and things like that. In our country, as I mentioned earlier, street names doesn't really work. So we have a replacement for that as well. That is already been in use, which is called Wereda. So everything has been localized. Like it's the existing system, but in a more localized system that works for, at least in the beginning, for Ethiopia. And then it's going to be expanding to the others as well.
So specifically speaking, you are trying to, is there any other country, the target country that you are trying to expand to outside of Ethiopia?
Yes, actually we just signed with some company in Nigeria where they're going to be the representative for us, where they're going to sell our services there as well. So our main focus is Ethiopia and Nigeria, where if we got things right there, that means it's easy to scale to the other countries as well. So there were also some interesting requests that we got from different Eastern European countries and also some Asian countries. So because our pricing is really cheap and our APIs actually work with on top of Google Maps and things like that. So it doesn't really require you to change what you are already using. So since it's an interesting concept, we've been getting requests from them as well. But our main focus is, as I mentioned, like to get it right in the places where the biggest countries the biggest companies do not have more focus on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the solution that you're trying to solve is very clear, and solution itself is very clear. So that's a wonderful service. So my question is, what kind of competitors do you have? Is there any other competitors? If there is, what is your company's uniqueness compared to other competitors?
All right. So currently, at least in Ethiopia, there are no companies that are providing this because it's not really an obvious problem that you can see unless you're like, for us, it was accidental discovery because we actually suffered from it. So there is no company that's working on this sector, but informally, I guess Google Maps, Mapbox, and other Maps.me or other companies are our competitor. But our competitive edge is they don't see the potential in Africa and also maybe some parts of Asia and also Latin America. So we want to be the first ones to understand the context of those areas and provide the services for the corporates that in a way that they need it and in a way they want to use it. So that's our edge.
That's great. Thank you very much. And this is a comment rather than a question. But for example, in Japan, a big company like a logistics company in Japan has mapping information, and they are trying to create what kind of businesses they can create leveraging the mapping information. So in Ethiopia, if there is that company, you can collaborate with that kind of company that wants to use the map information. I think that is one way of expanding your business. What do you think?
That's a great idea. So we actually, while we were in Kyushu, we visited somewhere and they told us about a company that works in the mapping, that it was a really old company. So yeah, that would be really interesting to take that what they have learned and what they have seen and maybe put it in the context of what we can use. So yeah, it's an interesting concept. Thank you.
Yes, let's talk about this business discussion and collaboration together.
はい、ルメヘルトさんありがとうございました。お時間。
Thank you very much. So it's the end of the pitch.
はい、3社目は。
So now the third company is Guzo Technologies PLC. Mr. Daniel Ketachu, please. But first of all, there's going to be an explanation of the company. So the third company, its startup, is Guzo Technologies PLC. the Guzo Technologies is a startup in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, that specializes in creating innovative immersive virtual reality experience in the tourism sector using XR, augmented reality. So the IoT and XR product is non-existent, almost non-existent in Ethiopia. And so XR and IoT, through them, this company is a leading company to provide such experiences. They are developing various areas in Ethiopia and Africa, and will be recreating various things, historical sites and heritage cultural celebrations to protect world heritage and to give a huge impact on the society. So, Mr. Daniel Getachev of Gebita Software, please provide us your pitch.
Konnichiwa. I think that's the word we mostly used since we came to Japan. My name is Daniel Getachew, and I'm the CEO and founder of Guzo Technologies. So it's an honor to be standing here today in front of you all and to discuss about a really encouraging story that I discovered maybe 10 years ago. But through time and through different challenges, now we came to this day, and I'm about to showcase that. So it's about culture and heritage. So in short, you can see our start page. We are a metaverse company. So I'm trying to make it easy. A few things to say about culture and heritage. This is a global thing. So we have to have culture and heritage to be promoted and also to be preserved. But this culture and heritage are very traits that connect us, our past, and shaping our present and paving the way to our future. So what are the problems? As you can see on this, we are losing our heritages due to number of factors. Those are terrorism, political instability, some natural disasters, and other issues. So COVID is also one example. As a solution, we teamed up with experts and talented individuals to enhance an all-inclusive package. And we presented, or we applied, the power of XR, or extended reality, to empower and preserve our heritage sites. And by adding gamification on top of this, we are telling story to the world. So our mission is to safeguard and to safeguard our heritages through the power of XR and embracing the technological advancements of our time. So what makes us unique, especially in Ethiopia or maybe in Africa, we create a virtual replica of the actual experiences, the actual celebrations with a powerful game engines like Unreal Engine. So those are like one of the unique thing about Guzo Technologies. So let me tell you a few things. We currently offer business for businesses and for government institutions in Ethiopia and also across Africa. We have made some partnership works with 2 African countries. So most of our revenue comes from service-based offers and also hardware rentals related to the XR. Just to show you one market. So this is like a sample market indicator we identified at Addis Ababa International Airport. So with a minimum of 3 to 9 hours layover time, there are nearly 12 million transits came to Ethiopia annually. So at least if we target 10% of those transits, we can generate $1 million per annum. So this is like untapped market. It's a new market. We have a huge opportunity on that. So we are focusing on achieving this goal, and we are seeking for this amount, focusing on our projects development and R&D personnel and related marketing and sales, so that we can achieve more of this project. So what we've been doing for the past 5 years. We were creating projects, we were researching, we were getting experts' advices and mentorship. And we are able to win the EPIC Mega Grants by USA. It's a famous gaming company and well known for their technologies. And we were one of, I think, the first selected company in Africa, and in Ethiopia, I think it's the only company. And we are also nominated in a lot of prestigious award ceremonies. This is the leadership team, and my co-founder, Binyam. He's the creative director. He is in charge of creating all the visual works. Yeah, so before I close my speech, or the speech, a nation that forgets its past has no future. So we are trying to keep that and preserve that, and using the trending and top-of-the-class technologies to promote African heritage and gamify them. So let's build our future together. Thank you.
はい、ダニエルさん、ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Daniel-san. So we would like to go into Q&A session.
ピッチありがとうございます。
Thank you very much for your pitch. So XR business of Africa, I've been researching on this in the past, and many of the business model that I have researching was about the travel in the metaverse, or else maybe pre-confirm the buildings by metaverse. But this time, it's a little bit slightly difficult for me to imagine the actual use case. So you say you're using World Heritage sites, and to the consumers, you're going to be letting see the World Heritage through metaverse. Is that right? My understanding, is that right?
So there are different experiences all over the world, especially VR is well known in the gaming and entertainment industry, but most countries lack contents. And unofficially, some of the Ethiopian histories are now in different games, let's say Civilization, New Ages, and they are incorporated. And you know those companies are earning 20 to up to $40 billion annually. So what we do is we are providing new contents, new untold stories from Africa, and integrate it with the market we see all over the world. So that's one way of approaching and seeking for a new market. The other is to provide new ways of promoting our cultural heritage sites in a way which is interesting to the consumers and also to the businesses, because we currently applying the technology as a marketing tool. So still there is gamification, still there is a way to put our stories. So we are just using or taking advantage of this XR across any alternate and possible options we have. So for now, we started from tourism because that's one of the pillars in Ethiopian government, and also it's easy for us to sell what we designed and what we produced.
Thank you very much for your explanation. I understand in the metaverse, there's a much challenging area within the developing nations too. Therefore, it's fantastic that you're working on that in Ethiopia. I will support you. Therefore, let us work together. So I too have been researching very much on the virtual reality. Therefore, I'm very happy to see, and I feel the appeal seen in startup working on VR in Ethiopia. And within your slide, you mentioned the word replica. So specifically saying, is the replica going to be a collectible item going forward in order to connect to monetization? Or else when we think about traveling, there's tourists coming into your country, the inbound people. So when they are visiting your country, there could be some preparations for traveling into your country, and replica could be used. So there could be situations that to be using replica. So what is the new feature? What is the uniqueness of your features, please?
For the question, so when I say the replicas, it's more of the virtual replicas, not the actual replicas. So we use a technique called photogrammetry to capture the actual scene with high fidelity outcome. So we are trying to capture most of the heritage sites based on this technology, and now we are also adopting AI. So that's what we are trying to create. So we are not designing it from scratch. We just took from the actual site and create a digital replica or a virtual replica of the heritage. But in the future, with the advancement of NFTs, and if we have access to create those type of blockchain networks, we are going to sell those artifacts digitally and create a way of ownership and also see an alternate way of generating revenue to the country. So those are also our goals, but it's a bit longer plan. But for now, we are trying to sell only experiences. Yeah.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much on that. And that's the end of the pitch.
ゲタチュウさん。
Thank you very much, Getachu-san. Now we finished 3 companies' pitches. We'd like to move on to the latter half of the pitches. The 4th company is Storm Online Technologies. David-san. But we'd like to ask Fujitsu's Inoue-san to give an overview. Hello everyone, I am Inoue from Fujitsu. The 4th startup is Storm Online Technologies. They offer a B2B e-commerce platform called Shemak. The majority of daily consumption relies on everyday consumer goods, and 90% of that distribution is through retail outlets such as kiosks. Currently, retailers face the challenge of not having a convenient way to restock their stores with goods. They must travel to a lot of different chaotic markets to procure goods. Inventories are difficult to manage, resulting in product shortages. It takes significant amount of time and cost before goods are delivered. Effective marketing for retail products is also a challenge. Storm Online Technologies solve this problem by using Shemak call center and mobile app to connect manufacturers and retailers' everyday consumer goods like kiosks, by helping store owners replenish their inventory from the comfort of their stores, and by helping manufacturers sell their products to the market. By doing so, Storm Online Technologies is helping the Ethiopian retail supply chain to be more efficient. Mr. David Nix of Storm Online Technologies, please give us your pitch.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Ngusu. I'm a founder and CEO of Shemak. It's a B2B online ordering and delivery platform for small retailers in Ethiopia and beyond. It's really an honor to be here to present our business today. So we are on a mission to unlock efficiency in retail supply chain of Ethiopia and beyond. I will start by telling a story of our early customer called Rahel. So this is Rahel, a mother of 3 children. She owns a small kiosk shop and she lives in Magananya area of Addis Ababa, which is the capital city of Ethiopia. So she runs this business to support her family, but restocking her shop is not an easy task for her. She always has to go to chaotic marketplaces, which is basically found 4 miles away from her shop. So this wastes a lot of time and add extra cost for her business, for logistics, for her business operation. This also makes her to lose her potential customers while she's out for restocking. So there are other thousands of retailers like her who faces the same market hassles, which leads them to end up with smaller profit margin and sometimes to shut down their business. This inspires us to create Shemak, a platform that helps Rahel to restock her inventory from the comfort of the shop without and get the same day free delivery. We directly work with manufacturers like Unilever and other local manufacturers. By this, we enable retailers to directly order products and get delivery to their doorstep with 24 hours of time. This also helps FMCG brands to enable their products is always accessible in the market and for end customers to get essential goods daily basis. FMCG transaction is one of the largest vertical consumer in Africa, and 90% of this transaction is through small care shops like Rahels. And we have thousands of these shops in Addis Ababa, which is the capital, and it's estimated to be 1.2 million across Ethiopia. So that makes the total available market of us around 28 billion. We have several ways of making money out of this, but we mainly focus on taking a margin from every transaction through our platform, which is 6% take rate. And in the future, we have a plan to leverage our data. We are collecting a lot of real-time market data, so we'll start leveraging those data, and we will also help governments and also research bodies to make their decisions better. We have been in the market 8 months now, and since then we managed to deliver 18,000 orders, and we are currently working with nearly 7,000 retailers. We're a team of 30 people, and this is a founding team. I'm a founder and CEO, and my co-founder is Yihun. We have a variety of expertise working in startups and also international companies. This also considered as one of our competitive advantage to win the market. And finally, please join us to unlock efficiency in retail supply chain of the country and beyond. Thank you.
ダービーさん、ありがとうございました。それでは
Thank you very much, David-san. Now we'd like to move on to the Q&A. So kiosk is a very specific market for the emerging countries, and it is a very unique and interesting way of accessing this market. I think it is a meaningful, really very meaningful business approach. I'd like to ask you several questions. So 6% take rate. Could you? So he's switching to the earphones. So are you okay? Are you ready? Can you? Let me question. So 6% take rate. So to what are you charging this for 6% take rate?
So we source products by consignment agreement from FMCG brands. So 6% is the margin that we took from the total gross merchandise value that is sold by our platforms. We don't add any charge for our retail customers, but since we're trying to buy in better price, in a good price from the manufacturers, so that enables us to add that 6%, and we can even give a better price for retailers. If I get your question right.
Okay, I understand. So you are not taking the take rate from retailers, but you are taking the take rate from the partners like a Unilever. When you are, so this is sort of wholesaling take rate.
To clarify it better, the status quo is from the manufacturers to the retailers. There will be 20%, 15 to 20% margin will be added in the current situation. But we will only add 6% out of that, and then we can give a better price for retailers. And that 6% will be our takeout.
Okay, I understand. So the retail prices are really low. So small margin from retailers can be actually more. So that means the kiosk, that it can be an incentive that can really, retailers, that's why retailers really want to use your service.
That's one of our winning point to win our competitions. There are traditional distributors in the market, but they add up to 20% of margin from the price. So that's also one winning point. We know that 6% is very small margin for us, but since we are in wholesale market, we'll be profitable when we sell too much, because the beauty of our market is in economic of scale.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, that's a very, very impressive business model. And what's more significant is that the potential of the business market, great business and big business market, the scalability potential is really high. And what the big market shows is there can be a lot of competitors as well. So in that situation, how are you going to compete against your competitors? How are you trying to win over the competitors? And also, some service of tenable market is $3 billion, you said. So how many percentage are you trying to get as some? And the strategy of what kind of specific strategy do you have?
Yeah, it's really a good question. So the first is just about the competition. Yeah, we have some of the competitions outside of Africa. They're actually a big company, but we believe that Ethiopian ecosystem, especially in retail FMCG, is very different. So since we are in the market like long time ago, and me and other team of my team have been working in the same business and also in the startup ecosystem. So I believe that even if other companies who are operating in other parts of Africa comes in, we are in a good positions to get some. The market share that we are planning to have, because like I said, we are from the ecosystem is very different. So yeah, that's one of our winning point. We have also other strategies, especially when it comes to local competitions. We managed to partner with larger manufacturers in the countries like Unilever, Coca, and Pepsi. So if I mention Unilever, they have 80 SKUs. So that's really a great milestone for us. So we have showed. We have gone like gone a good journey, so that would help us, and that will help us to convince other manufacturers. And if you have like multiple SKUs in your platforms, you just acquiring retailers is going to be easy, because the current price that they are buying from the wholesalers is very expensive, so they prefer us just to work with us.
Thank you very much. So major company like Unilever, partnership with these major companies is a very good strategy. So specifically business discussions have already started? Have business discussions already started? To the extent you can tell, could you tell us what kind of business discussions have started yet? Or
we have signed a contract, and it's been like 4 months that we have started working with them, so it's going good. Yeah, we already started working with them.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. So that was the fourth company. Now I'd like to make some announcement. So we will have a question and answer session later. So if you have any questions, please remember your questions, and also those who are joining online, you can use the Zoom Q&A chat so that you can post your questions now. And now moving on to the fifth company. The fifth company is Commerce 360. Mr. Amen, I'd like to ask Inoue-san to give an overview. The fifth startup is Commerce 360. They offer a B2B e-commerce platform called Taiwan. Ethiopia has a large informal sector. There are a group of companies that are engaged in economic activities such as production and employment, but they have not yet completed large procedures. They play an important role in the daily life of Ethiopia, however. They are also critical in terms of trade, generating much employment in Ethiopia with a market size valued at $36 billion annually. However, despite their importance to the country's economy, they remain excluded because they don't have access to any form of banking due to lack of bank statements and transaction history. Commerce 360 leverages a digital tool called Taiwan to solve the problems those companies face by creating an environment that empowers retail techs by giving them 100% access to finance. They empower small businesses by providing this informal sector with instant purchasing, stock financing, retail value services, and delivery. Mr. Amen Iskander from Commerce 360, please give us your pitch.
Konnichiwa. Hello all. I am Amin, and I will be presenting Taiwan, and we are a retail technology based in Ethiopia. But before I proceed, I would like to make some disclaimers. The convenience stores in Japan plays an important role in the daily lives of the Japanese people. They are open 24 hours, and you can get access to them anywhere, and they are convenient. You can find them in any block, any place in the country. But when it comes to the Ethiopian context, the whole scenario is opposite. The convenience stores are not convenient as they are informal outlets, and they are small kiosks located across the country. And the image that you see behind me is Abdi, one of the 40,000 retailers that operates in the bustling streets of Addis Ababa. These small retailers like Abdi make up the informal sector and play a vital role in the daily lives of Ethiopian communities, providing them with easy access to the things they need. But despite their importance, they often struggle. They struggle with finding reliable suppliers and accessing financing options, which are currently the major obstacles that keep them away from reaching their full potential. Abdi, like many others, lacks access to convenient sourcing and financing options. This makes it hard for him to grow his business and compete with larger retailers. In other words, he is excluded from many of the benefits of the modern commerce, and it is a struggle just to survive. But what if there was a way for Abdi and other small retailers like him had to access the resources they need to succeed? That's where Taiwan comes in, our innovative B2B e-commerce platform that connects smaller retailers like Abdi to the resources they need to grow and thrive in their markets. We provide them with essential resources to sustain their business, such as instant restocking, stock financing, detailed value-added services, and delivery. And this is how we are empowering the backbone of the Ethiopian economy and building a brighter future for all. With the Ethiopian government's planned transition into floating currency, the country is likely to face an economic uncertainty and challenges. And the informal sector, where small retailers like Abdi operate, will be hit the hardest. And that's when Taiwan's importance becomes crucial. We are bridging the gap between the suppliers and small retailers, making it easier for them to stock up, maintain their cash flow during challenging times. Taiwan has taken a leadership role in the B2B e-commerce, and we're utilizing a blend of online and offline technologies to cater to the needs of this market. Our platform allows retailers to easily place an order of any size and any type through their mobile devices, and with a quick delivery time of just 3 hours. We also provide an embedded wallet feature that gives retailers different flexible payment options such as buy now, pay later, and many more. Taiwan has formed a strategic partnership with KACHA, a leading provider of retail financial services in Ethiopia who's financing our credit line. We are also proud to have the support of the United Nations Capital Development Fund, who's further strengthening our financing activities. With the support of our partners, we have successfully brought on board 2,500 merchants into our platform, and we have generated $250,000 in revenue within the past 2 years. And with your help, we aim to increase this number fourfold by the end of 2024. I am Amin Iskandar. I'm working alongside a team of dedicated and talented individuals who share my passion for powering MSMEs in Ethiopia. And in conclusion, we are revolutionizing the Ethiopian informal sector, and with our expansion plans into neighboring countries such as Sudan and Somalia, Taiwan is well strategically positioned to make a significant impact on the region's economy, and we are excited to continue to drive positive change and impact in the region. Thank you.
はい、台湾のアミヌさん。
Thank you very much. Amin-san from Taiwan. Now we'd like to ask questions from judges. Thank you very much for your great pitch. So kiosk business model, we see a lot of kiosk business models in Ethiopia. So that means kiosk business is really have potentials. And what I am really interested is something that I asked before. This is a big market, but in order to win in this market, you have to have a business strategies. So I think it's very important that you have a specific business strategy. Please tell me about your business strategy.
Thanks. So I understand there is a bit of blurriness between Taiwan and the startup prior to us, Shamach. So basically, Shamach is a wholesale business. They hold the stock, and that type of business is very capital intensive. You can't grow month-on-month double digits. And the only thing about tech startups is you can achieve growth and become unicorn within just 6 years. You can't achieve that with that type of business. Second, the suppliers have a huge bargaining power on you. You understand me? And the additional thing is, have you ever heard of market force? They are exactly the same as Shamach. They are working across, I believe, 6 countries in Africa, and still they are not profitable. But in Taiwan, we are different. We are not in the whole business, but instead we are a retail technology. We don't hold stock in the middle. We are just streamlining the demand from the small retailers to the manufacturers. For instance, when I come to your industry, we are leveraging the power of blockchain to streamline that and increase efficiency. And we are using something called DAG, dicyclic acyclic graph, which is very eco-friendly blockchain technology that doesn't need an intermediary for verifiers and minings to verify the transactions. So we are leveraging this type of technologies to streamline between those. So there is that huge, massive difference between Taiwan, the retail technology, and the wholesale business. You got me? Next.
Thank you very much. One more thing. So uniqueness, it makes sense that it is very unique and it's great. But I'd like to also talk about, again, business strategy. So there was a map in the slides, the earlier slides. I was in Kenya, and I'm familiar with this situation. Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia. I think that's the map of the region. Somalia and Kenya, you have already your business is already operating in Kenya and Somalia? Is that what you mean?
We started early from Somali region, a region specifically located near to Somalia, but it's exactly in Ethiopia. But the consumer dynamics is exactly the same, and it's a matter of just expansion. So far, we've been focused on achieving our product market fitness, and we just did that. And for instance, if you look at the number of our customers that we have onboarded 3,500 merchants. But we stopped onboarding because we couldn't sustain the demand beyond that. And our capacity speaks for itself. So we stopped onboarding. Now we are focusing on fundraising and furthermore into expansion.
So you already went to Somalia. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, regarding blockchain, it's very unique. And by using blockchain, you can reduce costs. That is very interesting. But in terms of strategy, I think the strategy is very important for business. Obviously, so kiosks are scattered around the country, and there are a lot of merchants. And acquisition of kiosks, how are you onboarding kiosks, or how are you marketing to kiosks? Is it an app business? What is your marketing strategy for onboarding kiosks?
Okay. So when it comes to our marketing strategy and the use of blockchain in the middle, we're using blockchain just for the manufacturing and maintaining the supply chain in general. So basically, you understand when it comes to warehousing and all of that stuff, there is human alteration in the middle. And there's also theft and loss of some items and valuables in the middle. So in order to reduce that and make it more efficient, we are implementing this technology. One. Next, we don't have only a mono channel. We have an offline and an online based solution. So retailers can call our contact center if they don't have smartphones. So they can order from just calling our contact center. That's one. Next, they can access our mobile app, but when they access our mobile, there's an incentive for them to access different financing options, such as the buy now, pay later option that I've mentioned earlier. That's next. The third is, when it comes to the marketing, we never did marketing. It's just the mouth of word that's spreading, going around, and we are not even controlling that. So imagine if we do marketing, we're going to control the whole market. We're going to disrupt the whole East Africa and Horn of Africa market easily.
はい、ありがとうございました。台湾。
Okay, thank you very much. From MA-san from Taiwan.
はい、いよいよ最後の。
Thank you. So this is the last company for the pitch. And the last company is We Care Digital Health. And I would like Inoue-san to introduce the company. So the last startup is We Care Digital Health, the business focused on the telemedicine industry, offering digital solutions that allow patients to schedule appointments in person and consult with doctors online. There's three issues to this. Ethiopia has a very low number of doctors relative to its large population, only 1 out of 10,000 people, and people are having trouble accessing the medical care. And the other issue is about high employment rate within the country. The third issue is that old traditional health knowledge that differs from current scientific medicine is now ongoing, widespread in Ethiopia. With that condition, this is leading poor health status of Ethiopians. Therefore, to solve this, We Care Digital Health is using patients to consult with doctors and any health professionals from home, creating an environment where they can consult with doctors online. And those who do not have access to the internet, they also offer call center services, office clinics, and home visits through their home care services in order to support the Ethiopian home care. And so, Mr. Mikael Enderlel from We Care Digital Health, please give us your pitch.
Konnichiwa to all our Japanese listeners, and ጤና ይስጥልኝ to all our Ethiopian listeners. ጤና ይስጥልኝ is an Amharic greeting we use every day, and it translates to I wish you health. And at We Care Digital Health, we're providing healthcare services right at the palm of your hand. But before I go into how we're doing that, let me take you into a typical journey of a patient in Ethiopia. Let's assume he's a middle-aged man living in a suburban part of the country. One unfortunate day, he notices a health symptom that requires prompt medical care. At first, he ignores it because he does not have the knowledge of what the symptom might imply. But when it gets serious enough, he will visit a local health center, and that health center is understaffed and under-equipped to treat a serious and complicated medical condition, so they will refer him to a local hospital. There he has to wait for hours just to see a doctor, and wait even more to have his investigation results ready. And even after his treatment plan has been devised, he still has to wait. He still has to look from pharmacy to pharmacy just to find his medication. And his journey becomes
apparently unfortunate when we realize the fact that upwards of 5 million deaths occur every year in Africa simply due to lack of access to healthcare services. Surely there must be a better way of delivering healthcare service to both central and marginalized communities. My name is Dr. Mikhail, and I welcome you to WeCare Digital Health. We believe telemedicine to be the great equalizer when it comes to healthcare accessibility, because the physician to population ratio in our country is 1 to 10,000, as opposed to the WHO recommendation of 1 to 1,000 for optimal care. And even though we have a low number of health professionals, there is still high unemployment rates among physicians and other health professionals. We follow an outdated health management system with lots of paperwork and patient data scattered everywhere, and the system pushes people away and it discourages their health-seeking behavior, which is why we've created a platform where anyone can sign up, look for a physician in any category, and book them directly to consult online. This creates access to a physician just a click away. It provides job opportunity for health professionals, and it streamlines health data utilization. For users who don't have access to smartphones, they can directly call us through our call center. And for users who want in-person visits, they can use our office clinic or home-based care services. Apart from that, we also produce health education content to increase the health literacy of the nation. And health is a universal issue, it's not a niche market. Anyone with a phone can use our call center. That's 60 million plus users in Ethiopia alone. And anyone with a smartphone can use our mobile application or website, and that's 20 million plus users as potential access point to our target market. The telemedicine industry in Ethiopia is an untapped market with highly scalable growth potential, and we currently have the largest market share with more than 40,000 app downloads and more than 2,000 health professionals registered, and we have the most comprehensive offering when compared to our competition. In a short amount of time, we're able to provide more than 2,600 in-app consultations and more than 25,000 call center consultations. Our business model include commission-based from in-app bookings, service-based from our call center and office clinic on home-based care services, and subscription-based from corporate clients. Our performance clearly speaks for itself. We have been showing quarter-on-quarter growth since launch on all key primary indicators. And we have recently partnered with key players in the healthcare industry, including Novartis and Bridge for Billions, on an impactful project. And we have an ongoing project with the consumer goods production company Unilever. And currently, we're raising a seed round fund of $100,000, and a majority of that will be spent on marketing. Here is the team behind WeCare Digital Health. We're led by a board of advisors with seasoned expertise in both medicine and tech. We're all about increasing healthcare accessibility, and I invite you all to join us on our quest of providing health for all. Arigato.
ミカエルさんありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Mr. Mikhail. We will now switch into Q&A session. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I have been talking about the nutrition of Ghana. I feel very great sympathy with you, and your service is great. And currently, you say your business is growing, and I see that by data. So in order to grow even more, what specifically? Other than the investment, what are the challenges? Is it about the number of doctors registered, or is it to have people, the end users, recognize about such a service? Which is going to be the challenge going forward in order to grow even more?
Okay, so one of the major challenge is recognition and adoption of the technology, because we believe medicine should be practiced in person, and telemedicine services might not seem sufficient at first, but for cases that only require follow-up, or that doesn't really require the in-person visit, we can use telemedicine services, and that in convincing the population has been a bit challenging, but we're constantly producing health education content in the services we provide through several social media channels, and slowly trying to let the population adopt the technology.
Thank you very much on that. And another question. In the case of Japan, the telemetry medicine, there's the challenge within the regulatory area by the government. So in order to spread such telemetry, we had a lot of problem, but you're already clearing up those issues. No regulatory issues?
So, yes, we're working closely with the Federal Ministry of Health in developing a regulation for several digital health solutions. And so far, it's been going good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I expect highly on your business. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。ビジネスモデルもですね、で取り組んでいる社会課題も非常に、意味のあるものかなと思います。
So what you strive is very good for what you work on. And from my side, it's rather a comment. And within the developing nations, I've been working in order to promote telemetry medicals. The challenge was, as you've mentioned, it's about awareness and raising the literacy of the users. And we had a great trouble on this. So what we did was the local NGOs and using the social networks in order to hold the seminars and workshop on the regions. And then we spread the issues by the spread of people's mouth in order to have better penetration. So not only using the SNS, but the physical social networks should also be used. So I think that will be giving a good effect on that. So that was a comment.
Thank you for that feedback. Thank you.
私からは質問。
So I'm okay with the question. So I was very much impressed with your work and business. Therefore, I very much hope that you do a good business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
皆さん、ありがとうございました。こちら。
Thank you very much, Mikhail. So now we're done with all the 6 pitches.
Okay, thank you very much for the pitches, everyone. So I would like to please give a big applause to the 6 startups and also 2 judges. Thank you very much. Now we'd like to move on to the public vote. Before that, we are inviting questions from you, those who are joining online. Please use the Q&A function on Zoom, and those at the venue, please raise your hand. But before that, let's move on to the public vote. Your vote and the evaluation from 2 judges will decide the rankings today. If you are in the room, please use the QR code URL that's shown on your desk. And please choose one company you'd like to vote for and press the vote button in the lower right corner of the screen. The button like this. And also, if you are joining on Zoom, we are opening the survey paper, so please use that format. Please vote for the company you'd like to invest in if you are an investor yourself. Now we'd like to make sure that the survey format is open on Zoom. And now let's look back at the pitches that we heard. The first company was FiberMart Trading. FiberMart is manufacturers and sellers of kiosk building equipped with solar panels for real retail businesses. The second company was Gebeda Software. They are a private provider of map information using API to any company that needs maps, including local logistics, vehicle dispatch vehicles, service, and e-commerce. The third company was Guzo Technologies, an innovative immersive experience provider that specializes in building virtual reality experience in the tourism sector through the use of augmented reality. The fourth company was Storm Online Technologies. It offers Shaymac. It offers a B2B e-commerce platform specifically designed to connect retailers and manufacturers of everyday consumer goods. The fifth company was Commerce 360. It is Taiwan. It is a retail tech startup that supports the informal sector in finance and logistics, offering services such as instant purchasing, stock financing, retail value services, and delivery. The sixth company was We Care Digital Health, a business focused on the telemedicine industry, offering digital solutions that allow participants to schedule appointments in person and consult with doctors online. How about what do you think about the pitches, and are you ready to vote? So JICA team, I'm waiting for the sign from my staff on JICA to receive all the votes, to make sure that we received all the votes. So those in this room, please use the QR code here or the URL to access. Please only vote for one company. Please press vote button. And so I'm sorry that the slide is in Japanese, but you can click on vote button to vote for one company that you choose. How about those people joining on Zoom? Looks like votes on Zoom have already collected. So we'd like to close voting for Zoom users. Okay, thank you very much. How about those of you in the room at the venue? Looks almost all of you are done with voting. If you haven't finished it, please keep doing it. For those of you in this room. So based on the votes from the attendants in the room and also those on the Zoom and jerseys, we are waiting for the results. We would like to use this time to take questions for the startups. Those joining online, there is a Q&A function on Zoom. Please press this button and write down your questions to ask questions for startups. And those in the room, please raise your hand. Now, I'd like to ask all the startups to come to the front with your headsets. Could you come to the stage? So I would appreciate it if you could stand in the order of when you gave the pitch. That would be easier. Make it easier for people to recognize you. And so there is a question from the Zoom users. I'd like to ask these questions. You ready? Okay, could you stand in line according to the order that you gave a pitch? Now, the first question is for Fiverr Mart Trading for Dexan. The question: I am from Daiwa House, from Kawashima-san from Daiwa House Housing Company kiosks. If there is a failure in kiosk for repair or maintenance, what is the support system and the cost for repairing the kiosks when there is any breakdown in a kiosk?
Normally, the kiosk have a warranty more than 10 years. And the solar panels and the solar system have a warranty of 6 years. So in case if the kiosk, fiberglass kiosk is damaged, by the default of the customer, we will maintain by paying the customer, because it comes from the default of the customer. And if this comes from manufacturing default, we will pay freely. We will maintain freely within that 10 years. Yeah. Hence, we are in a pay-as-you-go model. At that time, we are continuing repairing and maintaining the panel system or energy system. So that's clearly we will pay if the damage comes from the fiber mat side.
デクさん、ありがとうございました。はい、では。
Thank you very much, Derek-san. So next question. This is to David for Shaymat. So that's a Japanese company, pharmaceutical company called Roto Pharmaceutical, and he is a business marketing person. Shaymat. Oh, are there any product that you cannot handle in Ethiopia? For instance, many of the countries cannot handle alcohol, or else maybe the garments, they are regulated by a specific people or area. So what is the case for Ethiopia? Are there anything that limits you not to handle?
Thank you for your question. So basically, we're focusing on fast-moving consumer goods, which are commodities who includes detergent, food, and related things. So yeah, there are some stuffs regulated, but at this point we're not involving in that. So we're only focusing on fast-moving consumer good products. Yeah.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございます。ではここでちょっと
Okay, now we'd like to ask if there's any question from the room. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Or those of you joining in person at the venue. Okay, so one person raised your hand. So please, I would like the microphone to be there for you. Thank you very much for your pitch. I am from Ito Chusho Trading Company. I'm a Matsuura. The question is for Shaymat and Taiwan. So regarding deliveries, I'd like to ask a question to those two companies. So if you, are you arranging deliveries by yourself at your company? That's the questions to two companies.
Yeah, I'll go first. So what we do is we're trying to source goods direct from manufacturers with bulk price in a consignment deal. So this means we don't have to pay upfront before selling our products. So we have our warehouse in different places of the city and also logistics structure. So we guarantee them like 24 hours of delivery. So we do the logistics ourselves.
Yeah, so thanks for your question. When it comes to Taiwan, we don't do the logistics because by default the logistics is very capital intensive. So we try to outsource that to third parties. Also, I didn't mention about the way we are going to be unicorn within just 4 years, and that would be possible by expanding in what I call in 3D sphere. One would be we are not focused only on FMCG. That's the sector that we've prioritized. Then in the near future, we're going to expand in pharmaceuticals, later into the construction sectors. That's one. The second is like we are going to expand geographically into neighboring countries and cities. And the third would be to expand our offerings into the retailers, financing, delivery, restocking. So we will diversify our revenue streams by doing those things. And with that, we will believe that we will be a unicorn within just 4 years.
ありがとう。
Thank you very much for the question and answers. So right now, what is about the calculation of the voting? Are we tallying well? And we do still have some questions. Therefore, I will just read up the questions. For Shaymat in Taiwan, it's about the buy to go, and it's a question from Kahed-san. So the warehouse, are you holding it by yourself, or is it an outsourced issue? So do you hold a warehouse on your own, or do you outsource it?
Like I mentioned, I think we need to understand the situation in the area that we are operating in. We don't have a logistics company that can handle the orders that comes into our platform. So we are trying to construct like the logistics structure from by ourselves instead of just outsourcing that, because there will be a lot of like points of failing. Maybe at this point, if we're going to outsource our logistics to other company, there's no one that we can trust like above us. So yeah, we do the logistics ourselves, and we are. Yes, we do just talking like for 2 weeks or 3 weeks of inventory, because we get the products with consignment deal. This means we're not going to pay it like upfront, so that will not be a problem on the cash flow in our side.
Yeah. So from Taiwan's standpoint, we are not doing warehousing by ourselves. We are trying to outsource that as much as possible, because like you can understand, the B2B markets by default has a low margin. So with that margin, imagine if you do the logistics at the same time if you do the warehousing, so you are losing money on each order. And we are here to make business, to make profit. So we are not doing warehouse, we are not doing logistics by ourselves. We are going to outsource that for third parties.
Just to clarify this thing, let's say an order is coming from a certain point, and that order composed of 10 products. Let's say 10 products. 10 products could be sourced from like 10 manufacturers, right? So one manufacturers may be based like the other side of the city, and the others may be out of the city. So if you're not holding the stock, so when the order comes, we need to navigate through like 10 points. Imagine like we may take like 6% out of like one order, and we need to navigate like 10 points if we are not holding the inventory. That way, I don't think that works. Yeah, it's just a simple math.
はい、最後の質問になります。
Okay, the last question for Taiwan. Your business is able to. Is it possible for you to connect retailers and makers directly?
As I've mentioned earlier, we're trying to outsource our service as much as possible to third parties. So the issue that raised by my colleague here, David, the role of technology comes in here. If you have the right technology, you can directly streamline those orders and make them into one and make it more even efficient. The last question, didn't get it. Sachi, would you come again on the last question?
Okay, yeah, that's the last question. Thank you so much. はい、ありがとうございました。こちらで質問を。
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. We'd like to end the Q&A session now. I'd like you, the startup CEOs, you can go back to the seat. And now we'd like to announce the winners, the results of the voting. So the top 2 companies.
技術省のベレット大臣とバイッサ副大臣にぜひお願いさせていただきたいというふうに思います。
So the trophy will be provided from the Minister, Dr. Belet Muala Getahun. And please come up on the podium, please. It is also going to be presented from Deputy Minister Baisa Badasa, please, too. So from Ethiopian Ministry, we would like to be having the announcement from a personnel from the Ethiopian Ministry of Innovation Technology. This is Mr. Tadesi Ambesi. So please announce from the second.
I am Tadesa from Ministry of Innovation and Technology. Now I will announce the result of the pitch of today. I will start from the second. The second top best pitch was Gabata Maps. Please welcome the founder of Gabata Maps, Mr. Keizai, to the stage. Mr. Bemhiret Keizai, to the stage. Okay. The first top best pitch is WeCare Digital Health. Welcome Dr. Michael Endale to the stage.
Thank you very much, Minister and Deputy Minister, and thank you so much for the announcement, Mr. Tebese, and congratulations. So again, the winners, congratulations. Every startup has been doing their best, and I would like your great round of applause to all the people who made the pitch. So if you do have any interesting pitch from an interesting company or a startup, please access them from the Ninja website. Thank you very much. So lastly, let us ask the Ambassador, His Excellency Dada Debele, for the presentation.
Good morning. Good morning. You're tired. Konnichiwa. His Excellency Dr. Ballate Molla, Minister of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia. His Excellency Dr. Maisa Badada, the State Minister of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia. Distinguished lecturers and scholars, distinguished participants, startup participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my genuine gratitude to Japan International Cooperation Agency and the Ministry of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia for organizing this fruitful and practical event. I am also pleased to express my heartfelt gratitude for all participants in making pitch event on innovation in the startup ecosystem successful. Ethiopia has registered a strong social and economic development in recent years, leading to important progress towards sustainable development goals. Ethiopia has one of the fastest growing economic in Africa and the world, characterized by attracting foreign direct investment, aims to reach lower middle income status by 2025. Ethiopia has a huge human and natural resource potentials with vast opportunities for compliance market growth in significant as the country transition to a digital economy due to the recent easing of the telecommunications environment and the policies aimed at expanding the digital economy. Since His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed became the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, the government of Ethiopia is launching a comprehensive and a well-coordinated homegrown economic reform agenda with the goal of safeguard micro-financial stability, rebalance, and sustain economic growth. The reform agenda builds on the achievement of the past decade in infrastructure and human capital development. The primary objective of the agenda is to sustain the economic growth through creating an economic environment supportive of wider private investment and structural transformation. Nowadays, the government is opening up different sectors such as banking and telecommunication, which were formerly restricted to foreign investors. Due to the comprehensive reform undertaken by the government, the overall investment and the business environment of Ethiopia has now improved and attracting the attention of the investors worldwide. Hence, in this instance, Ethiopia is registering remarkable progress in the building recent economy. In this regard, Ethiopia needs technology and the business entrepreneurs that would support to fully utilize the business potential of Ethiopia and to carry on the growing economy in better way. The government is supporting and encouraging the business entrepreneurs who have innovative skills to solve the economic and the social challenges. Moreover, the coordination of all stakeholders and the partners, both governmental and non-governmental, is essential to realize the above-mentioned objectives. On today's Startup Pitch event, we have observed very important innovations, international skills in different areas, including digital in ICT, energy, in tourism, health tech, retail tech, and other related startups. All entrepreneurs who provide their startups were really exciting, delivered a creative and helpful innovation skill which can attract innovators from Japan and worldwide. This program and the pitch competition has a great role in improve and enhance the environment of startups, and it will enable entrepreneurs to connect with a critical resource to actualize their business plans. I'm confident that in the future we will have various innovators, entrepreneurs, and skills that could further address both developmental and the social issues. Once again, I would like to express my deepest appreciation to the organization and the participants for your great contributions to make this Startup Pitch event concluded in such a colorful ceremony. I believe that participants are engaged actively in this pitch event and will be inspired to work together to strengthen cooperation in investment, technology, and innovation between Ethiopia and Japan. Collaboration among all partners and the stakeholders is essential to solve social and economic issues. Hence, it is my firm conviction that together we can achieve more. I thank you. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you. Thank you very much.
ダバ大使アムセグナロ
Yeah. Excellency, thank you very much for your comment. Now, lastly, I'd like to make some request for you. So, I would like to ask you to fill out the survey for this event. You can access the site by the QR code and URL, and also there is a sheet of paper in this room. Please use that to fill out your answer. JICA will continue to collaborate with European Ministry of Innovation and Information to conduct a variety of projects to help develop startups and ecosystem in Ethiopia, Africa, and all over the world. To learn more about JICA startup support, please visit JICA's official website via JICA Ninja or this QR code. Thank you very much for your participation today. We are closing this event. Thank you again.